In the first year of our marriage, Regina never let me touch her. Yet on the day her so-called unforgettable first love returned, she became pregnant. I wasn't angry. I continued buying her jewelry and luxury handbags. When morning sickness made her cry, I gently wiped away her tears with my fingertips. Everyone said I must be deeply in love this time. I only smiled. Then I calmly commented under that post, "How powerful is the pull of an unforgettable first love?" Too powerful. That's why I married her sister. I wanted to watch her twin, who looks exactly like her, have everything, and then lose it all. If I counted carefully, Regina and I had been married exactly 1 year. The day Francis returned was also our first wedding anniversary. I stood by the floor-to-ceiling window of a hotel nearby, coldly watching Regina and Francis kiss passionately at the musical fountain in the central plaza. They were tangled together, completely lost in each other. The cigarette between my fingers burned down slowly until it scorched my skin. The cigarette butt fell, leaving a small burn mark in the carpet. That night, Regina didn't come home. She didn't even bother to explain. In the middle of the night, Francis sent me a photo. Regina lay asleep on white hotel sheets, her face turned sideways. The red birthmark at the corner of her eye was clearly visible, my favorite place. Francis sent it deliberately to provoke me. "Look at your wife of 1 year. All I had to do was call, and she ended up in my bed. Ethan, I've been gone for a year, and you still couldn't win Gina's heart. What a loser." But whoever said I wanted Regina's heart? Chapter 2. The next morning, rumors of Regina cheating with her ex flooded everywhere. The Lee and Half family stock prices plummeted overnight. Lee's father was so furious, he slapped Regina on the spot. When I arrived, Lee's father immediately invited me to sit and personally poured me tea. "Ethan, don't take this to heart. These are all baseless rumors. None of it is true. You've been married to Gina for a year. You know her character." I didn't respond. I only looked at Regina. She still showed me no kindness, sneering coldly. "Ethan, I told you long ago I don't like you. Our marriage has been nothing but a name. Let's get divorced." I shook my head slightly. "No." Regina laughed mockingly. "Everyone says I'm your simp, and they're right. We've slept in separate rooms for a year. Now I've cheated, and you still won't divorce me? Do you really love me that much?" Seeing my expression darken, Lee's father slapped Regina again. "Enough nonsense. Do you know what a blessing it is to marry President Koo? Look at how well he treats you." Regina froze, covering her face as tears streamed down. She glanced at me with a trace of guilt. "I know. I was shaken at first. But Francis is back. He's back. No matter how good anyone else is, it can't compare." Maybe once Regina had been moved by my patience, indulgence, the endless gifts, but fleeting affection could never compete with years of love. Francis always came first in her heart. I sighed, stood up, and gently pulled Regina to sit beside me. I tidied her messy hair softly. "Regina, I still don't want a divorce. Perhaps I was too gentle, so gentle that people lost themselves." Regina nodded unconsciously. "Ethan, don't be so good to me. It makes me feel guilty." I smiled faintly. "You don't need to feel guilty. Just wait a little longer, Regina. Give me a bit more time." Chapter 3. That night, Regina unexpectedly treated me kindly. She brought me a midnight snack. "Ethan, you didn't eat dinner. Eat a little. It's bad for your stomach." When she closed the bedroom door, her figure overlapped with someone from my memories. I stared at the photo on my phone. A girl in a light yellow dress held bright red roses, her eyes curved into crescents. A pink diamond ring rested on her slender finger, stretched toward the camera. I remembered it clearly. She had lifted her chin proudly and asked, "Ethan, do I look good?" Coconut shadows by the sea, blue waves, a gentle ocean breeze lifting her hair. She walked along the beach, turning back again and again to look at me. "Beautiful. You're always the most beautiful." Thunder outside snapped me back to reality. The midnight snack had long gone cold. I dumped it into the trash and went to the bathroom. Time passes, but the one who can't let go is the one who suffers most. Some things are irreplaceable. Ethan, you should have understood this long ago. Chapter 4. For 2 days after that, Regina behaved herself. She stayed home and cooked dinner for me. Unfortunately, it only lasted 2 days. On the third day, she was trending again with Francis. They attended an auction together. Francis spent millions on a diamond necklace and personally fastened it around Regina's slender neck in front of everyone. As they left, light rain began to fall. Francis held a transparent umbrella, pulling Regina tightly into his arms. I have to admit, the photos were beautiful. Romantic, like leads in a drama. If it weren't Regina and Francis, I might have even praised them as a perfect couple. But Regina is my wife. Cheating is still cheating. The Lee and Half family's stock prices dropped again. Along with them, a beautiful third-tier actress trended as well. Someone exposed her past relationship with Francis. Regina was furious and called Francis, but was met with cold indifference. "You're married. What right do you have to question me? Regina, don't forget, you let go first. You married Ethan for your family." Regina cried hysterically. "Francis, you can't do this to me. I stayed loyal to you for a whole year. If I weren't involved, I might have thought I was watching a tragic romance." She called me from a bar, sobbing drunkenly. "Ethan, come pick me up. Take me home." When I arrived, the table was covered with empty bottles. Francis's betrayal had hurt her deeply. The last time Regina got drunk was on our engagement day. "Ethan, will you protect me forever?" The young boy held the girl tightly and answered without hesitation, his voice firm and resolute. "I will. I will protect you forever." That was the promise between us, a promise I intended to keep for my entire life. After that night, the relationship between Regina and I subtly changed. She seemed to have truly decided to settle down and become Mrs. Koo. Every morning, she made me breakfast. In the evenings, she would sit on the living room couch, quietly waiting for me to come home. She even thoughtfully prepared hot baths for me. Many nights, she would knock on my door wearing a sexy silk nightgown. I never opened the door, because I saw her hang up on Francis's calls again and again. Her resolution slowly shifted from firm to hesitant. On my birthday, Regina prepared everything carefully. Flowers, gifts, cake, nothing was missing. She personally lit the candles and looked at me softly. "Ethan, happy birthday. Make a wish." I stared at the flickering candlelight, about to speak. Then her phone rang. It was Francis. Regina hesitated, then hung up. But the phone rang again. This time, she answered. On the other end, Francis's drunken voice came through. "Gina, don't leave me. You already left me once. Are you going to leave me again? Gina, the wind by the river, it's so cold." Regina panicked. She forgot about me completely. Without even glancing at me, she grabbed a coat and rushed out the door. The candles on the cake continued to flicker quietly. I closed my eyes and made a sincere wish. Then I blew out the candles. My heart skipped a beat. My wish was simple, to be with the one I loved. That night, I sat alone on the balcony, gazing up at the stars scattered across the night sky. Maybe it was the alcohol, or maybe I was just lost in my thoughts. I felt as though I had returned to the past, to the first time I met her. I was 12 years old when I first saw her. Because I was born prematurely, I had always been weak, thin, small, and frail. And because my skin was fair, almost delicate, I was often bullied by my classmates. They called me androgynous. They stuffed caterpillars into my desk and laughed when I recoiled in shock. "See, I told you Ethan is a girl. Only girls are scared of caterpillars. Ha ha ha." My parents were always busy with work and rarely had time for me. I didn't dare fight back. I hid in a corner, silently crying, until a small figure stood in front of me. She grabbed the caterpillar and threw it back at the boy who had been teasing me. Bullying others? What kind of man does that make you? If you bully Ethan again, I'll tell the teacher. The classmates didn't take her seriously at first, but they hesitated because she was a top student, the teacher's favorite. In the end, they backed off. Still, they mocked me as they left. Ha ha ha, Ethan is so pathetic he needs a little girl to protect him. You two should just be sisters. Careless words spoken in childhood can pierce deeply into a young heart, but kind words can also give someone the strength to stand tall. The little girl gently patted my head. Don't be afraid. I'll protect you from now on. Ethan, one day you will become a real man. Those words changed my life. I started running, cycling, exercising, under the guidance of our family doctor. Slowly, I grew stronger. I was no longer the frail little boy I once was, because I, too, had someone I wanted to protect for the rest of my life. Regina began leaving early and coming home late again. Sometimes she didn't come home at all. I didn't question her. I didn't blame her. I had already grown used to it over the past year. In the empty villa, there was only me, alone. But loneliness was something I had long learned to endure. I buried myself completely in work, not only at Coup Corporation, but also helping Lee Corporation secure many major deals with us. Every time Mr. Lee signed a contract, he would sigh repeatedly, his words filled with regret. He often blamed himself for not raising his daughter properly, for letting me down. I would only smile faintly, never reproaching him. Regina was the Lee family's most beloved daughter, spoiled beyond measure. If she wanted the moon, Mr. Lee would find a way to buy naming rights to a star and give it her name. So when Regina insisted on marrying into the He family, a family slightly inferior to the Lees, Mr. Lee agreed. However, at that time, Lee Corporation had a critical deal with Coup Corporation. In the end, Mr. Lee had no choice but to sacrifice Regina's love. Because he felt indebted to her, as long as I didn't get angry, he turned a blind eye to her behavior. And in Mr. Lee's eyes, my patience only proved how deeply I loved Regina. He probably believed that as long as Regina kept me firmly hooked, Lee Corporation might one day grow strong enough to even swallow Coup Corporation. I could understand his thinking, if I were truly a fool blinded by love. Mr. Lee, a pleasure doing business. I put away the signed contract and opened a bottle of champagne. Mr. Lee raised his glass happily and clinked it with mine. Ethan, the greatest luck of my life is having you as my son-in-law. I drained my glass in one gulp, my tone sincere. Being able to marry your daughter is the greatest blessing of my life. Mr. Lee paused, then sighed deeply again. But I knew those sighs weren't for my pain or worries. He simply felt powerless in the face of Regina's reckless choices. I saw Regina again more than a month later. That night, she cooked a mediocre dinner at home. Red wine, candles. The atmosphere looked warm and romantic, but I knew very well she wasn't doing this to reconcile with me. She was pregnant. It went without saying whose child it was. This carefully arranged scene was meant for one thing only, to discuss divorce. Sometimes I truly couldn't understand this woman. Why create such an atmosphere just to talk about divorce? Anyone unaware of the truth might have thought it was our wedding anniversary. Regina sat quietly to the side, watching me eat my steak bite by bite. She was surprisingly patient, waiting until I finished before finally speaking. Ethan, I'm sorry. Our marriage has reached its end. She placed a divorce agreement in front of me. Perhaps because she was pregnant, she felt guilty and didn't want to damage the cooperation between Coup Corporation and Lee Corporation. The agreement was clearly drafted in her disadvantage. She would leave with almost nothing. But it made little difference to me. When she married me, I hadn't asked for anything either. I held the pen but didn't sign immediately. Instead, I looked up at the beautiful, alluring woman across from me. Regina, are you sure Francis loves you, and only you, forever? She clearly hadn't expected that question. She stared at me blankly for a long time. Then a flicker of guilt crossed her eyes and she looked away. Francis loves me. I know he does. He only loves me. Ethan, stop playing games. Sign it and let's part on good terms. This time, I didn't hesitate. I signed my name swiftly. With the final stroke, I completely ended the brief and absurd marriage between Regina and I. When Regina took the agreement, she stared at my signature for a long time. Ethan, you don't seem sad at all. I nodded calmly. Because I don't love you. She froze. Her expression shifted from disbelief to realization and finally to panic and confusion. Tears streamed down her face as she turned to leave in a hurry. But I grabbed her wrist firmly. I smiled, meeting her eyes directly. Regina, we can't part on good terms. I later heard that Lee Corporation and He Corporation had begun collaborating. If the project succeeded, the two families might even surpass Koo Corporation. Because of this, Regina and Francis's wedding was hastily prepared. When the invitation arrived, I was watching a video, Regina leaning against Francis's shoulder, her face glowing with happiness as she announced their wedding. A surge of anger rose in my chest. I smashed the tablet to the ground. Only when I looked at the photo of the girl on my phone did I finally calm down. Selena, you were supposed to be the one to find happiness.
Don't worry, I'll make them pay. The girl I remembered had never been Regina. The one I loved was named Selena. She was Regina's twin sister. They looked 70 to 80% alike, especially the red mole at the corner of their eyes. Both sisters had it. I admit that in the beginning, looking at a face similar to Selena's had sometimes comforted my grief. But as time passed, I became increasingly certain Regina was not Selena. She could never replace her. My Selena was innocent and beautiful, her smile as gentle as moonlight. She was warmth itself, a beam of light shining into my life. Regina was not. In the Lee family, Selena was never as favored as Regina. When Mrs. Lee gave birth to Regina, everything went smoothly. But Selena's birth was difficult. It nearly cost her life. Because of that, Mrs. Lee resented Selena and doted on Regina instead. Mr. Lee followed her lead. After Selena protected me, we became each other's only friends. We grew up together, studied together, and eventually confessed our feelings. We were supposed to get married. But on the day I successfully proposed, Selena died. Mr. and Mrs. Lee claimed it was an accidental fall. I didn't believe them. My Selena was like a pear blossom in a storm, resilient and cautious. More importantly, the engagement ring I had given her, a rare pink diamond ring, was missing. I searched through all her belongings but never found it. Later, I happened to see Regina wearing a pink diamond necklace. Cherry blossom-colored pink diamonds were extremely rare. I was certain it was the diamond from Selena's ring. On Regina and Francis's wedding day, I didn't attend, because chaos would come on its own. To recover the plummeting stock prices caused by their affair, Mr. Lee invited more than 20 media outlets to the wedding, hoping to create positive coverage and redeem the disgraced couple. I sat in my office watching the wedding unfold remotely, step by step, and I felt a quiet sense of satisfaction. Regina, Francis, just wait. You'll remember this wedding forever. It is my carefully prepared gift to you, a wedding of death. After a full year of painstaking investigation, I finally uncovered the truth behind Selena's fall. Perhaps heaven took pity on me. Near the Lee family villa, a young man had been flying a drone in a nearby park. By coincidence, he recorded the entire crime committed by Regina and Francis. It took me a month of reviewing surveillance footage around the Lee family villa to find this precious piece of evidence. Unfortunately, by the time I tracked down the boy's address and rushed to his home, he had already gone abroad for his studies. His parents were extremely cautious about my sudden visit and firmly refused to tell me where he was. With no other choice, I spent even more time investigating until I finally discovered that he was studying in Germany. That day, I boarded the earliest flight and went straight to Germany. When I found the boy and showed him Selena's photograph, he panicked. He avoided it anxiously and refused to admit that he had ever seen her. I stayed at his school for half a month. Every single day I went looking for him, begging him, just for a sliver of hope. Maybe it was my untrimmed beard or the despair written all over my face. Something must have moved him. In the end, he finally sent me the drone footage. That day, he really had recorded a video. Although it was shot from a distance and the faces weren't very clear, the sequence of events could still be vaguely seen. By then, it had already been 3 months since Selena fell. I watched that video over and over throughout the entire night. That was when I finally understood everything. I finally knew the truth. I finally knew why my Selena had fallen on the day she accepted my proposal. She wasn't pushed. The wedding officially began. Regina wore a fluffy white wedding dress, an exquisite crown on her head, holding an expensive lily-of-the-valley bouquet. Supported by Mr. Lee, she slowly walked toward Francis. Francis stood at the center of the stage, smiling tenderly. They truly looked like a perfectly matched couple. They gazed at each other with deep affection in their eyes. In front of their parents, friends, and countless flashing cameras, they exchanged lifelong vows, for richer or for poorer, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, to love and cherish each other forever. Francis took out a diamond ring the size of a pigeon egg and slowly tried to slide it onto Regina's finger. But he couldn't get it on. Chaos instantly erupted. Whispers spread through the crowd. The gazes directed at the couple on stage gradually turned disdainful and resentful. A bold reporter stepped forward and handed a video to Regina and Francis. On the screen, on the rooftop of a villa, a man was pinning a girl in a pale yellow dress, trying to force himself on her as she struggled desperately. Then another girl, dressed in red, rushed over. She dragged the man away and slapped the girl in yellow hard across the face. There was no sound in the video. You couldn't hear what they were saying. All anyone could see was the girl in red venting her fury, slapping her, pulling her hair, shoving her violently. Meanwhile, the man leisurely sat down on a rattan chair nearby, watching the scene unfold with amusement. Then, the girl in red tried to snatch something, but the girl in yellow clung to it desperately. That completely enraged her. She picked up a garden hoe from a flower bed and smashed it hard against the back of the yellow-dressed girl's head. The girl collapsed instantly. Even the man standing nearby jumped up in shock and hurriedly checked her pulse. They panicked for a moment, then pushed the girl in yellow off the rooftop. A sudden gasp ripped through the crowd. That looks like the Lee family villa? They have a lot of flowers on their rooftop. Another person chimed in. Yes, Mrs. Lee loves planting flowers. Another person suddenly realized something. And that girl in the video, doesn't she look like Regina? Another voice followed. Right, doesn't the Lee family have another daughter? She fell from a building over a year ago. The crowd erupted in discussion. On stage, Regina and Francis had turned deathly pale. The rings slipped from Francis's hand and fell to the ground. Regina clutched Francis's hand nervously, stammering as she tried to explain. No, it's not like that. It wasn't me. Selena fell accidentally. It had nothing to do with me. Fran, say something. Help me explain. Under the reporters' flashing cameras and relentless questioning, Regina finally fainted. The bouquet scattered across the floor. The crown fell. Her white wedding dress was stained. A wedding turned into a farce. I closed the video feeling, for the first time, the pleasure of a revenge that had been long awaited. Regina, I warned you before, we were never going to part in good terms. I want you to wish you were dead. After that chaos, Regina lost the baby. Standing outside the hospital room, I could clearly hear Regina and Francis arguing inside. Out of control, Francis hypocritically coaxed her, offering money and resources while threatening her at the same time. He told her his family was rich and powerful, and that if anything happened, she would be the one to suffer. Helpless, she accepted everything. She agreed to become his mistress, but secretly she began collecting evidence of Francis's abuse toward women. What she discovered was far worse than she had imagined. Francis was rotten to the core. Besides Regina, he maintained affairs with multiple women. He even sexually harassed attractive female employees in his company, both verbally and physically. Inside the hospital room, Regina cried as she blamed Francis. "Francis, you forgot what you promised me. You said you'd never fool around with other women again. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have done that to Selena." Francis was silent for a moment, then spoke impatiently. "You blame me? You were the one who did it. Regina, do you realize how serious this is? Both our families and companies are surrounded by reporters. Hay Corporation's stock has hit rock bottom. My old man chewed me out," he continued coldly. "I asked a lawyer. The video doesn't clearly show our faces, and there's no clear audio. As long as we deny it, the police can't do anything. Even if they identify us, we'll blame everything on Selena. Say she seduced me, stole from you, and you accidentally hurt her. Never admit it was intentional. Don't worry, your dad and my dad will handle it. Just like a year ago, we'll fool everyone again." After a long moment, Regina nodded, sobbing quietly as she leaned against Francis. "Fran, I'm scared. It's all that damn Selena's fault. Even after dying, she still won't let us live in peace." Francis fell silent again. "There are too many reporters outside. We should find a place to lie low until our fathers handle this." Regina agreed and stood up to change clothes, completely disregarding her weakened body after the miscarriage. I left before they opened the hospital room door. "Regina, Francis, thank you for walking straight into the trap. I'll make sure you regret ever thinking your little tricks were clever." When I arrived at the Lee family villa, Mr. Lee was discussing countermeasures with Mr. Hay. The house was filled with top-tier lawyers. When Mr. Lee saw me, it was as if he had found a lifeline. He personally poured me tea, speaking in an unusually humble tone. "Ethan, son." Then he paused, realizing I was no longer married to Regina, and corrected himself. "This old man knows you have wide connections. You must have a way to save Gina, don't you? After all, you were married for a year. I truly hoped you two would grow old together. Gina was immature. She let you down. But considering your year of marriage, can you help save her? She's innocent." I stared at his fawning face and felt nothing but disgust. I let out a faint laugh. "What price are you willing to pay to save Regina?" Mr. Lee was momentarily stunned. Then he smiled, as if he suddenly understood. "Ethan, as long as you save Gina, I'm willing to give anything." He probably thought I wanted to remarry Regina. In his eyes, I was still hopelessly in love. I let out a cold laugh. "If you had treated Lena this way back then, she wouldn't have died with regrets. Regina wouldn't be in this situation either. In the end, you were the one who ruined your precious daughter." This time, Mr. Lee was truly stunned. He exchanged glances with Mr. Hay. As an outsider, Mr. Hay saw things far more clearly. It was you. You posted the video online. You arranged for someone at the wedding to make everyone believe the people in the video were Regina and Francis. Only then did Mr. Lee finally understand. He stared at me in disbelief. Why would you do this? Didn't you love Gina? How could you bear to hurt her like this?" Only then did I realize Mr. Lee was a fool. Even now, he still clung to the illusion of my love. Mr. Hay rolled his eyes and snapped, "Are you stupid? Ethan loved your dead daughter. He did all of this to avenge Selena." Mr. Lee staggered backward and collapsed onto the sofa. Mr. Hay quickly changed his expression, bowing as he pleaded, "Mr. Koo, Francis had nothing to do with this. It was all Regina's doing. Please be generous and let Francis go." I shook my head lightly. No, Mr. Hay. Francis was an accomplice. You could even say he was the root cause. If Francis hadn't tried to assault Lena, Regina wouldn't have acted out of jealousy. Both of them are guilty. Neither will escape. I stood up and looked at Mr. Lee sloped to the side. At that moment, I realized the question I'd always wanted to ask on Selena's behalf no longer needed to be asked. We already knew the answer. The Lee parents simply didn't love Selena. That's why they didn't care, why they didn't understand her, why they didn't even know who she was dating, why they were indifferent to her death. There was no complicated reason. They just didn't love her. As I turned to leave, Mr. Lee suddenly shouted behind me, "Ethan, you can't hurt Gina." Mr. Hay also shouted angrily, "Don't think you can do whatever you want just because Koo Corporation is big. You won't succeed. The Hay and Lee families aren't weaker than Koo Corporation." I paused, then turned back, sneering at them. "Mr. Hay, Mr. Lee, when you can't even protect yourselves, why waste your breath?" Ignoring their curses, I walked away. As I got into my car, I saw officers of the Bureau of Commercial Crimes arrive at the villa. Not long after, both Mr. Lee and Mr. Hay were taken in police cars. This, too, was a gift for Regina and Francis. Gathering all that evidence hadn't been easy. Their crimes had always been covered up by their parents, especially the Lee family. They were also responsible for Selena's death. I wasn't letting a single one of them escape. My assistant glanced at me through the rearview mirror and asked cautiously, "Boss, to the office?" I stared at my reflection in the car window and laughed softly. "To the florist. I want to buy some flowers. For Selena." I hadn't visited her in a long time. I wondered if she was angry at me. I placed Selena's favorite sunflowers in front of her grave. Sitting on the ground, I opened a can of beer. "Lena, I'm sorry. I've been busy lately and didn't have time to come see you. You must miss me, right? I miss you too. Lena, don't worry. It's almost over. The people who hurt you will pay the price." I spoke on and off for a long time, not knowing if she could hear me or not. Suddenly, a butterfly flew around me in circles, then gently landed on Selena's photo on the tombstone. I think she heard me. What would she say? She would say, "Ethan, stop drinking. It's bad for your health. When I'm here taking care of you, you have to listen to me." She would say, "Ethan, don't be sad because of me. I want you to always be happy." She would say, "Ethan, thank you for protecting me. Thank you for everything you've done for me." She would say, "Ethan, I like you. I like you a lot." As the butterfly flew away, my hand gently brushed over the smiling girl in the photo. "Lena, I like you. I like you a lot." I sat beside Selena's grave all night long until dawn arrived and finally left, reluctantly. I didn't go to the office.
I didn't go home either. I drove alone to a deserted mountain. After several turns, I stopped in front of a run-down house. Standing outside, I smoked 3 cigars in a row, the air filled with the bitter smell of tobacco. Only after the 3rd one did I push the door open. The moment Francis heard someone enter, he struggled wildly. "Who are you? Why did you kidnap us? How much money do you want? We'll give it to you." Regina hurriedly added, "Yes, just don't hurt us. We'll pay whatever it takes." "My father loves me. He'll definitely pay." I slowly removed their blindfolds and casually sat down in the chair opposite them, enjoying the shock on their faces. Perhaps they hadn't seen daylight for too long. Francis and Regina squinted for a long time before finally seeing me clearly. "You?" Francis froze. "Ethan? Why did you kidnap us?" At that moment, I realized Francis probably didn't know about my past with Selena, so it wasn't strange that he didn't understand. Ever since the divorce, Regina had already understood everything. From the very beginning, I had never loved her. She had only ever been Selena's substitute. Keeping her by my side was simply to make her fall in love, without ever getting love in return, so she could taste the pain of longing day after day.
Ethan, Regina's voice trembled, are you planning to kill us? Francis looked completely confused. What? In a situation like this, Regina had no time to explain anything to Francis. She only cried and shouted, Ethan, if you kill us, you'll go to prison too. My father won't let you off. Without realizing it, I had lit another cigar. Ever since Selena died, I seemed to have fallen in love with smoking, one cigar after another, drowning myself in it. But this time, after just 2 puffs, the taste became unbearably bitter. I casually stubbed the cigar out on Regina's leg. Regina, do you really think I care? Besides, your father can't help you anymore. They can't even protect themselves now. My twisted calmness completely terrified Regina. She didn't even have the strength to scream from the burn. Instead, she cried and begged, Ethan, Selena is dead. She's already dead. You loved her, didn't you? I'm her twin. We look so alike. I can replace her. I can stay with you. I promise I'll behave. At this point, Francis finally understood everything. He crawled toward me, begging, Ethan, Mr. Koo, Selena's death had nothing to do with me. Please, please let me go. Suddenly, a wicked idea formed in my mind. I nodded slowly. Only one of you can live. So, how will you decide? Regina and Francis exchanged glances, their eyes lighting up at the same time. Regina spoke first. Fran, you said you'd love me forever. You'll let me live, right? At that moment, Francis dropped all pretenses. Without hesitation, he shoved Regina to the ground. Why should I? Regina, you said you loved me, then die for me. Besides, Selena's death was your doing, not mine. I only got dragged into it because of you. Seeing the man she once loved turn so cold, Regina froze on the ground, tears pouring uncontrollably. But, Francis, it was because you wanted to assault Selena that I acted against her. It was because I loved you so much. How could you do this to me? Listening to their exchange, I finally pieced together what really happened on the day Selena fell. It turned out I was also part of the reason for Selena's death. Growing up, the Lee parents had never cared about Selena. They emotionally neglected her while pampering their elder daughter, Regina, spoiling her, indulging her, even allowing her to mistreat Selena. The day I proposed to Selena, we were both overjoyed. But after that happiness faded, Selena became quiet and troubled. Ethan, my parents don't really like me. I don't know if they'll agree to me being with you. At that time, I gently squeezed Selena's cheek and comforted her. Marrying into the Koo family, your parents will definitely agree. That day, as usual, I dropped Selena off 1,000 meters away from the Lee villa. I never imagined it would be the last time I would ever see her. After returning home, Selena discovered Francis was there. She went alone to the rooftop. Mrs. Lee liked to say she loved gardening, but in truth, all the gardening work was done by Selena. Mrs. Lee only admired the results. Selena was weeding the flower beds when Francis followed her up, filled with malicious intent. He pinned Selena down. I've played with all kinds of women, but I've never tried twins. Selena, be good. Let me see if you're as alluring as your sister. Unable to break free, Selena screamed in panic. Her cries attracted Regina, who rushed over and slapped Selena without asking anything. She cursed furiously. Selena, you little slut! How dare you seduce Francis? I'll beat you to death! No matter how Selena explained, Regina refused to listen. When Selena tried to defend herself, Regina noticed the pink diamond ring on Selena's finger. Regina had never seen such a high-quality pink diamond before and immediately wanted it. Oh, Selena, which rich man did you seduce to get such a good ring? Give it to me. Give it to me. That was the engagement ring I had given her. Of course, Selena wouldn't let go. Growing up, whenever Regina wanted something, Selena always gave it to her. But this time, Selena refused. That refusal drove Regina mad. In desperation, Regina grabbed the garden hoe nearby and smashed it against the back of Selina's head. Selina collapsed instantly. Regina panicked and called out to Francis, "What do we do?" After thinking for a moment, Francis decided to stage Selina's death as an accident, a fall. With the help of both families, the matter was quickly covered up. And just like that, Selina's young life came to an end. I ignored their vicious fighting and walked outside. The shabby house was indeed crumbling, but it was still a cage. It was the grave I had carefully prepared for both of them. I locked all the doors and windows with iron chains and lit another cigar. Their curses and accusations gradually faded, turning into pitiful pleas for mercy. 100 million, 200 million. Offers to become slaves. Offers to be stand-in lovers. They tried everything to save their lives, but none of it mattered to me. All I ever wanted was Selina. I smoked the cigar down to the end, tossed it to the ground, and crushed it under my foot. The lighter in my hand clicked open with a sharp sound. Through the cracked window, I tossed it inside. In an instant, raging flames erupted. I wondered if Regina and Francis noticed the gasoline cans I had placed inside earlier. The fire roared as they desperately tried to escape. Perhaps at that moment, they finally felt the helplessness Selina had once felt. Calling out to the heavens, no response. Calling to the earth, in vain. True torment. I didn't leave. I needed to watch the house turn into a pile of ruins. I needed to see Regina and Francis become two charred corpses. I was afraid that by some stroke of luck, they might escape. The fire burned for half a day before slowly dying down. It didn't disappoint me. Regina and Francis had indeed turned into two blackened corpses. I drove back to the villa and handed all the signed documents to my assistant. Call the police in 2 hours. The assistant's hand trembled as he held the papers. "Boss, do we really have to do this?" I smiled, turned around, and walked out of the empty house without looking back. Louis, every wrong that's done has a price. I'm no exception. I drove to the cemetery and sat in front of Selina's grave. Once again, I brought her favorite sunflowers. This time, I didn't say a single word. I just kept pouring drinks. To be honest, I was being a little extravagant. Even now, I had taken the most expensive bottle of red wine from home. I drank until my head spun, then gently kissed the photo on the tombstone. "Lena, I'm here to marry you. Wait for me." I knew about Ethan and Selina. They had supported each other since childhood, true childhood sweethearts, a relationship anyone would envy. So when Miss Lee suddenly passed away and Mr. Koo decided to marry Miss Lee's sister, I was shocked. I even thought Mr. Koo had lost his mind from grief. "Mr. Koo, should I make an appointment with a psychologist for you?" I will never forget the cold look he gave me. Later, while helping Mr. Koo prepare for the wedding, I slowly realized that he didn't care about Regina at all. He was indifferent to the wedding. Even the suit he wore was one he randomly picked from his closet. But when it came to Selina, Mr. Koo always handled everything personally, never leaving it to anyone else, including me, his most trusted assistant. On the night of the wedding with Regina, Mr. Koo went to the office late. He drank alone on the company's rooftop, terrifying me. Standing on the 30th floor, Mr. Koo kept looking down again and again. Then he suddenly asked me, "Louis, what's the difference between falling from the 30th floor and falling from the 4th floor?" I thought for a moment. Falling from the 30th floor guarantees death. From the 4th floor, you might survive but be disabled, or you might still die. Mr. Koo remained silent for a long time, then drank half a bottle of wine. Falling from the 4th floor can kill you too. Selina is dead, and my heart died with her. At that moment, I suddenly understood my boss was carrying an enormous secret inside him. And yet, I was truly Mr. Koo's confidant, and he trusted me. To live up to that trust, I worked hard to complete every task he assigned me. I collected surveillance footage near the Lee Villa, tracked down the drone boy's address, and found out where he studied abroad. I also helped Mr. Koo contact the media, upload the video, and bribe staff to guide wedding guests into identifying the people in the footage as Regina and Francis. Later, after drugging Regina and Francis, Mr. Koo no longer wanted me involved. "Louis, you've already done a lot for me. You don't need to wade through this mess with me. There will be other things I need you to do in the future." It wasn't until later that I understood what he meant. Mr. Koo had established a charitable foundation, donating all of his company's profits. I was placed in charge of that project. After reporting everything to the police, I followed them to Selena's grave, but Mr. Koo was already dead. He had mixed a massive dose of sleeping pills in his wine. At that moment, I finally understood. Mr. Koo had planned everything long ago. At Mr. Koo's funeral, the chairman's wife cried so hard she nearly fainted. The chairman sat silently beside her. I think they were deeply saddened. Still, they honored their son's final wish, to bury him next to Selena. Later, I brought 2 bouquets of sunflowers to visit them. It was a beautiful day, and 2 butterflies were fluttering around. "Mr. Koo, Miss Lee, how are you both?"